Wonderful women, welcome back to my channel, Nourished by Claudia. I'm so happy that you're here also this week. And today we have a juicy topic as we're going to discuss the 7 worst mistakes for period recovery. And I don't want to sound negative. Normally, I like to keep everything on the positive side, but it's really important to have awareness of the things that you're doing day in and day out that may be impacting your chances of getting your period back by the end of this year or getting pregnant, and really boosting your vitality and your desire to live, your desire to have more energy, your desire to feeling better. So one thing that I normally see with women is the controlling factor. I normally find that it's really hard to recover from hypothalamic amenorrhea if you're coming from the same mindset that lead you to amenorrhea in the first place. So what am I talking about? I see normally women that come to hypothalamic amenorrhea and they really want to recover by doing exactly the same thing. So exercising as much as possible, controlling their food, controlling their weight, even tracking their steps, tracking their intake. And even though it is possible to recover while doing all these things, the reality is that you're not gonna give your brain and your mindset a break, which means that you're still feeding the same disordered thoughts and the same behaviors that brought you here in the first place. So normally what I say is that if you had hypothalamic amenorrhea once and you don't want to have it twice, it's really your chance to let go of some of the disordered thoughts and behaviors that have been making you feel tired and miserable for quite a long time. So what does that mean? So first of all is trying not to control how much weight you're going to gain, because normally what I see is women that get to a level of weight gain that they feel comfortable with and they don't want to overcome that. They don't want to go above and beyond just to regulate their cycle. So that's one pitfall that I normally see when women are trying to control what they look like and their weight on a scale. The second thing is also numbers. I find that sometimes women, they start using the caloric tracking devices just to make sure that they're hitting a decent number of calories each and every day. But I also find that sometimes they get to a point where they feel very fearful in going above and beyond that number, which is one of the other reasons why sometimes tracking is not a good idea. Not to mention that it still keeps you stuck in a sense of fear and control, and it's not going to help you to live the life that you really want to live in the future, because chances are that if you have been tracking your calories for a very long time, it may be time for you to simply let that go and focus on the present moment and not to be too worried about the second tablespoon of olive oil that someone has put on the salad. Something else that I normally see is also controlling movement. So it is okay to really check in with yourself and understand that if you feel that you have been doing too much for a certain period of time. But I don't think that it's sometimes very helpful to start tracking your step, to start tracking how many calories you burn each and every day, because once again, that's going to feed your disorder thoughts and your disorder behaviors. Another things that I don't really enjoy that much seeing is also people that are really focusing on how many hours they're sleeping and the sleep quality, and they get really impacted when all the numbers go down and they shows that they haven't really had any proper sleep for a long period of time. And even though I'm a big fan of sleeping a good few hours and having a good quality sleep, the reality is that life is lifey, and you may have a moment in time where the stress is high and it's going to be very hard to prioritize the sleep. So all I'm trying to say here is that as much as you can, let go of those controlling behaviors, let go of that mentality that you have to keep track on everything, that you have to control your weight, you have to control the calories that are getting in, you have to control the steps and calories that are going out, and controlling all the facets of your life, also involving relationships, supplements, visits with doctors. Sometimes it's very useful to really welcome some freedom and some happiness into your life and have fun whilst working on period recovery. And you may notice that if you allow yourself to do so, the period recovery is gonna feel really short compared to if you spend every single day tracking every single morsel of food that you eat. The second thing that I normally see is women not nourishing themselves enough. So that's possibly the worst mistake that you can make, because you possibly know that starving yourself won't restore your cycle because your body needs fuel to function and heal. But the reality is that at this point, you may not be starving yourself any longer. You may not. You may have let go of all those fasting behaviors and saving the calories to the end of the day, but you may still be neglecting some of the very important nutrients. So focusing on one food group while ignoring others can lead to deficiencies. And it's really important to aim for a well-rounded diet. So I see that many people that are feeling very comfortable in increasing their protein intake, but is still very fearful when it comes to carbs and fats. And the reality is that carbs and fats are very much needed, not only when it comes to hormonal restoration, but also to reach ovulation and to support the thyroid. Not to mention your performance at the gym, if you're still going to the gym, your performance at work, your presence with other people, and your ability to be social also when going to restaurants, going out with friends, celebrating a birthday, and so on and so forth. So good on you if you have let go of those behaviors that kept you stuck, fasting for the first part of the day, or eating very little calories, or saving energy for the second half of the day. But it's still very important to you to start focusing on allowing yourself to have all the nourishment that you deserve to heal and restore your cycle. Another mistakes that I normally see is over-exercising. So too much exercise can make things worse. And I would love to say the balance is key, but the reality is that everyone is different in a period of recovery. And for some women, going to the gym 3 times a week can be too excessive. Whereas for other women, going to the gym 5 times a week can be absolutely fine. So you cannot really work against genetics. And there are also other things to take into consideration. So for example, your history, your past history, how much you weigh at the point of starting period of recovery, how old you are, all the other things that are happening in your life. Because if you are in your 20s and you have very little responsibilities and you can sleep soundly at night, chances are that you're going to be able to recover a much faster pace compared to a mom of 3 kids that have 3 hours of sleep every single night, that has a full-time job, and on top of it is still training, worrying about finances in the house, and not eating enough. So it's really hard when you compare yourself with others, because you don't really understand what's happening behind closed curtain, which is why in the period comeback protocol, everything is very customized, from the food that we normally recommend you to eat, the type of training that we recommend you to do, and also the type of exercises that you can implement and the habits that you can implement in your life to get better and get your period back as soon as possible. That's the all reasons why you have a nutrition and dietetic clinician that is going to be there to support you, which is myself. You have a support coach, you have a personal trainer, and a mindset coach to be there to assist you when you encounter roadblocks along the way, because we don't want to give you a very generic idea on how to recover. We want to give you tips based on your specific needs and based on your back history. Something else that I've normally seen that can really hold women back is seeking validation. And when I say seeking validation, can be from anyone and anyone. And from anyone. So for example, can be from a professional, an endocrinologist, a gynecologist, a dietitian, or it can be from a friend, it can be from a partner, can be from a sibling, or from a relative. So sometimes we enter this commitment stage where we really want to get our period back. We can get really vocal, and every single time that we see a professional, we want to make sure that we feel understood and that we have that validations that we are on the right track and we're doing the right thing. The reality is that sometimes professional may not be well versed in hypothalamic amenorrhea, or your best friend may not know anything about disorder behaviors around food, eating disorders, or hypothalamic amenorrhea. And even your partner, especially if it's a male, may not know anything about having a period. Not to mention that our relatives, especially from my generations, they come from a generations where dieting was part of their day-to-day life, and sometimes hearing the words weight gain can feel quite frightening to them and can go against their own values. So what I normally say is stop seeking validation from all the people that you meet. Just be very specific with the people that you want to discuss about this type of situation, which is why in the HA community is what we do. We have group calls so that you can have a selected group of people that you can open up with instead of going out there and just seek reassurance from someone that may not know exactly what you're going through and may give you the wrong answer, that may give you the wrong advice that can put you into a spiral of negative thoughts. I had a couple of clients last month that went to see their gynecologist, and they were so excited because they were seeing progress in their period recovery journey to then being diagnosed with PCOS. And I remember spending more than 30 minutes just going through the same blood test results, the same ultrasound, the same history and diary over and over again, just trying to see and understand where that specific professional had seen a diagnosis of PCOS, and I could not find it. And then I had to call the doctor. I had to call the doctor and ask him, so why do you think that this woman is presenting with PCOS? And his answer was because the AMH level is high, which is now a myth that has been debunked. And I wasted, which is not wasted, but I spent more than 2 hours of my time trying to figure out why this poor woman, she was feeling so defeated after giving this completely wrong advice from her own healthcare provider. And the reality is that this healthcare provider diagnosed her based on just one marker that is not sufficient to give a diagnosis of PCOS, hypothalamic amenorrhea, or anything else for that mean. And I'm not saying that the healthcare provider is not a good doctor or is not a good professional. I do understand that most of them, they just have 15 minutes to figure things out, and they tend to replicate the things that they see. So maybe in that clinic, they see more people with PCOS than hypothalamic amenorrhea. So I understand all of that, but sometimes it's really up to you to stop seeking validations and really work within your means, within your values, your set of values, and also be aware of the things that you're doing each and every day, because you can get your own diagnosis if you listen to really what is really going on. Something else that I believe that it's quite a mistake when trying to recover from hypothalamic amenorrhea is going solo. And by going solo means skipping professional advice. And that's because expert guidance can make all the difference in your recovery journey. You can spend as much as you need Googling things, jump on ChatGPT, looking at all the different type of Instagram accounts on hypothalamic amenorrhea, joining Facebook group. And for some of you, that could be absolutely sufficient. That could be enough to feel committed, accountable, and to know exactly what needs to be done. But the reality is that if you are very serious of getting your period back in the shortest amount of time, if you really want to understand why you're experiencing those symptoms, if you want to boost your fertility, if you want to start feeling better within yourself, and if you want to unpack the disorder behaviors that you have been carrying with you for all your life, you may need to do that with a professional. And it does not matter if it's not the right time for you to join the period comeback protocol. It does not matter if you don't want to work with me. Maybe you want to work with a therapist. Maybe you want to work with a counselor. Maybe you want to work with someone that, I don't know, that simply gives you good vibes, even though it's not a professional and doesn't know much about anything medical related. That's absolutely fine. But if you can, don't do this on your own. Just seek professional guidance, and also seek a community of like-minded women that can support you when you're going to encounter roadblocks, because roadblocks happens. They're part of our life and they're absolutely fine. And every single roadblock is our chance to grow, is our chance to face another opportunity to evolve. Okay, so don't think about roadblocks as obstacles that are going to stop you on the way. Just look at them and think, okay, this is my opportunity to go to the next level. How can I get to that next level? Do I need to find that professional guidance? Do I need to speak with a friends? Do I need to join a community? Whatever that is for you, just make sure that you don't sit in your room alone crying your eyes out at nighttime because you haven't had a period yet. Another big mistake is relying on supplements alone. I do believe the supplements are helpful, but they are not magic. okay? And I was the first one to make that mistake. And if you have listened to any of the videos that I've done in the past, apologies, you may know by now that I spent approximately $2,000 in supplements in my first months alone in my period recovery journey, simply because I trusted the wrong professional, and that can happen again, but also because I was not listening to my gut instinct. I knew absolutely that I was dealing with an eating disorder. I knew absolutely that I was dealing with a condition that was stopping me from getting my period because I was not eating enough and I was exercising too much, even though back then I didn't possibly have a name because people didn't know much about hypothalamic amenorrhea and everyone was talking about PCOS. But the reality is that even though I knew all of that, even though in my heart I knew what was happening, I still decided to trust someone else because it was easier. And the reality is that sometimes it's easier to figure out a way to spend $500 in supplements instead of doing the hard work. And I've been there. I absolutely get you. If you are in that position where you have more pills on your kitchen counter than I don't know, than what else than pieces of fruit, that's absolutely fine. I've been there as well. If you're getting confused in terms of which supplements to take, which day of the week, absolutely, I've been there. If you are scratching your head and wondering where are all your money going, and then to find out that you're taking so many supplements, once again, I've been there, and that's okay. Supplements are helpful, but we need to start with the core foundations. We need to start with the bricks that are underneath the dimensions that we're going to create. So I had this conversation with this client the other day. So nutrition, changing your training, regulating your nervous system, those are the core foundations. Those are the bricks, the sturdy things of your mansion. And then acupuncture can be the most beautiful living room. The supplements are your bathtub. They are the extra that you can put on top of it. But if you don't have enough food, if you're not changing your training routine, if you're not sleeping enough, if you're not addressing the reasons because you're constantly under stress, then you can take as many supplements as you want, but you're not going to see any difference. Another thing that is very much connected to this is ignoring your mental health, because stress and emotional well-being are crucial in the recovery journey. And I would like to address this from two perspectives. So the first one is that if you're in a state of chronic stress, the reality is that your body is going to be in a protective mode. So if your body is protecting you from the proverbial tiger, then it's not going to allow you to get pregnant because it senses that there is danger. And if you're in a state of danger, then what's the point of having a baby if then that baby and yourself are going to be under threat, because there is no time to give birth to a child if you have to run away, if you keep getting chased. And our primitive body doesn't really know the difference between an inbox filled with emails, renovations, dealing with a very invasive mother-in-law, to being in a state of proper danger. So that's unfortunately something that our brain needs to catch up with at some point in times, but it's not happening at the moment. It's a very much a lizard brain. So that's something that I really would like you to think about and start addressing and start wondering, is that also what's impacting my hormonal health? Is that what's impacting me to get the period back? And secondly, I also would like to think about your mental health from the standpoint of recovery. Sometimes we are so good at going out there and ask for advices and getting a meal plan and getting a training program and try our best to stick to that. But the reality that it's also important and fundamental, I would like to say, to address the mindset, to address the behaviors that have been holding you back, that got you here in the first place. So for example, if you're working with a dietitian, a nutritionist, a mindset coach, just make sure that you open up with them. That's your opportunity to let them know what's going on in your head day in and day out. Because if you don't share, if you don't open up, chances are that they're not going to be able to give you resources and they're not going to be able to help you to get to the next level. And if you're part of the period comeback protocol, you will have multiple check-in points. You can speak twice a month with a support coach. You can speak with me once a month, and then through Facebook messages, you can be part of the group call in the Chi community. You can participate in the Q&A videos. You can speak with the other women in the HA community. But the reality is that if you decide not to do all of that, and if you decide to keep all your problems for yourself, then what's the point? My advice is to share, to find an accountability buddy, to find someone that you trust, and really let people around you, especially the one that you have paid for, let the people around you know what's going on in your head, so that we are all going to be able to support you and help you. And if you're not part of the period comeback protocol, and if you're working with someone else, absolutely the same thing. Open up with them. And if you feel that they don't give you the right answers, if you feel that they're not capable of holding you accountable, if you feel that you're not very much supported, you have two options. You let them know, so maybe they're going to change their perspective or the way that they work with you, or you may need to move on and find someone else, and that's absolutely fine. I had so many women that came to work with me after working with the other coaches, and they couldn't see results while working with them, and then decided to work with me. They managed to get the period back, and they managed to get pregnant. So it's absolutely up to you to decide where you're at. But there is one thing that you can definitely do: let people know, let people in, and share what you're going through, so other people are going to be able to support you. And last but not least, the last mistakes that I really need to touch upon today, because it's possibly mistake number one. Well, not really, because nutrition and exercise and stress are definitely the core foundations of period recovery, but this is definitely going to resonate with most of you, which is comparison. I always get the questions: why I haven't got my period back if Mary did? Why am I still in this situation if Jane isn't? Why am I in this body if Kate is much skinnier than I am? The reality is that the more that you seek validation, which is something that we have already discussed, the more that you look outside of yourself, the more that you keep comparing yourself with others, the more miserable you're gonna feel. Comparing is the thief of joy. We all know about it. We have read it somewhere multiple times, possibly. And that's so very true in every single aspect of your life. When you become a mother, or if you're a mother, you will know that comparing yourself as a mother with other mothers is absolutely pointless. Comparing your children and their performance with other kids is absolutely pointless. Comparing how much money you're making compared to your best friends is, once again, absolutely pointless. There is a point in comparing, sorry, which is, okay, why do they have that? So that's a fair question to ask yourself. Why does Jane have a period? Why does my friend earn more money than me? Why do I feel that someone else is a better mother than I am? Because that's the point, is that you ask yourself the question, so you get curious about what is going on in your life instead of suppressing. And after that you have raised that curiosity, then you can sit with your thoughts and ask yourself, first of all, why you're feeling that way. What is blocking you to get to the next level? And once that you have identified that, there are two avenues that you can go down, that you can follow. One is accepting that you are exactly where you need to be. Or the second thing is, okay, I want more. How can I get to that place? There is also a third avenue that I really don't want to discuss, which is the avenue of feeling miserable, feeling that you have failed in life, that you are the worst mom, that you will never get a period, and that you will never get a promotion, and that you will never get enough money. But that's simply you being stuck in scarcity mindset. And the reality is that you can always switch your point of view and start looking for glimmers instead of triggers. And if you haven't heard about the concept of glimmer, I would like to talk more about it in the next video, and just you need to write in the comment today, simply type glimmer, so I'm gonna remind in the future to make a video about it. But for today, there is just one big thing that I would like to ask you. Please like this video, please subscribe to this channel, so more people are gonna be exposed to what I have to share. More people are gonna get the ability to recover their period for free. The more people are going to find out about the period comeback protocol, and they're going to be able to join and get the support that they need. And also more professionals are going to learn more about hypothalamic amenorrhea. So the more of you that subscribe to this channel, the more likes that I get, the more YouTube is going to circulate my video, and that's going to allow me to keep creating these free resources for all of you to enjoy. So thank you so much for being here today, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.